Cops kill Smalley's accomplice. Girl charged for Marty's school fire. And 57 years, very little progress. I am Rico Bulford, and this is Uncut News. Do you see news happening? Send us a tip on WhatsApp at 592-659-6151. Neon Howard, an accomplice of convicted murderer Roydon Smalley Williams, was shot dead by the joint services over the weekend after allegedly snatching a gun and attempting to fire at the police patrol when he was supposedly in custody. Howard was wanted for aiding in Williams' escape and was found with a black Samsung phone, a grey haversack, and other items. The joint services had launched a manhunt for Williams and his accomplices after their escape on May the 19th. Executive member of ANOG, Kian Jabor, is calling for the ministers of Amerindian Affairs, Education, Home Affairs, Health and Local Government to step down from office, pending an independent commission of inquiry into the deadly Mardia dormitory fire that claimed the lives of 19 children. Jabor believes that the government officials failed to ensure that basic safety equipment was in place at the dormitory, and that their negligence resulted in the tragic loss of life. Unfortunately, it's been this many days, and yet the government has not apologized in the least bit for the death. In fact, they haven't even recognized that anything truly happened that they would be at fault for in the least bit. So I wouldn't hold my breath, Mr. Jabor. On a related note, a 15-year-old girl has been charged with murder for setting fire to the school dormitory. The fire was found to be maliciously set, and DNA tests have positively identified the remains of 13 victims who were burnt beyond recognition. The proposed Wisma-Mackenzie Bridge will be funded by a U.S. $200 million loan from the Islamic Development Bank, according to Public Works Minister Warren Edgell. The loan was increased from $120 million, and the new infrastructure will be built using the additional funds. Now let's just see how much of the additional funds will actually go to the bridge and not into someone's pockets. The president is currently attending the South American Leaders Summit in Brazil. The meeting is focused on regional integration efforts with discussions on energy, crime fighting, and the possibility of a regional currency to challenge the US dollar. But they're still trying with this crap. Anyway, the Venezuelan president is also attending, but it is unclear if he will meet with the Guyanese president, who currently has Venezuela before the International Court of Justice over a border controversy. In 2021, Davindra Rampersad had the case against him dismissed after he was accused of supplying expired HIV test kits to the Ministry of Health in Ghana. But he has now been granted bail in the sum of US $60,000 after pleading guilty to 3 of 6 counts of indictment in the US related to this same case. He is accused of conspiring to divert kits paid for by USAID and earmarked for Kenya to Guyana. And, of course, there are many things the United States will allow pass, but messing with Uncle Sam's money is not one of them. 42-year-old Layla Bacchus was remanded to prison for murder after giving her husband a poison-laced energy drink. She reportedly admitted to the crime following her husband's death and complained to the police about his constant harassment over her affairs. Apparently, the couple was having regular arguments because the woman just kept giving him blow and he kept catching her in the act. Nonetheless, she will appear in court again on July the 11th. It's truly frightening that such people exist in this world. Now for today's oil update. ExxonMobil has chosen MODEC to build its 5th production vessel, the Erawitu, for the Uralu, Mako, and Chinook fields offshore Guyana. The vessel will have an oil storage capacity of 2 million barrels and an oil production design rate of 250,000 barrels per day. Exxon expects MODEC to deliver industry-leading standards and is confident in their ability to match the quality of SBM Offshore's previous work on the project. Independence Day is coming up, so it's time to declare independence from breakdowns with Powered Automotive. They have reliable, high-quality truck parts and spares for your truck at amazing prices. Visit them at Lot 490 EE Eccles, or call or WhatsApp them on telephone number 697-0171. Save big on truck parts at Powered Automotive, the #1 heavy-duty truck parts store in Guyana. Tired of waiting on hold, tracking down a delivery driver, or carrying cash for your food orders? GT Eat is here to make your life easier. Guyana's first cashless food ordering and delivery app. Choose from Georgetown's top restaurants, pay securely with your card, and get your food delivered right to your doorstep. With the convenience of being able to order from your phone and the added feature of tracking your order, GT Eats is the ultimate solution for all your food needs. Download the app on Apple and Android stores and start ordering the easy way today. Now for something I haven't done in a while. Today's stupid news. You know what I think is stupid? The fact that we've just celebrated 57 years of independence, and there are still Guyanese who believe that voting for either the PPP or the PNC will truly bring Guyana equitable and sustainable national development. 57 years split almost evenly between two race-based elitist parties that currently only care about enriching themselves and pleasing their campaign donors and multinational corporations. And by multinational corporations, I'm also including the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers and the other global elites that own almost everything. Because we already know they have their hand in almost everything in the world. I will go down that rabbit hole, though, because, I'm not trying to get shadow banned. Nonetheless, our politicians aren't even our leaders. They're literally just corrupt watchdogs of imperialism. And the only reason the US hasn't deposed them in the name of democracy or whatever fake values they're pushing today is because it's cheaper to just allow us to vote for our own local oppressors instead. Anyway, because of this fake democratic system set up and maintained by the Carter Center, it doesn't matter if you're PPP or PNC, normal laws don't apply for you because you're a part of the elitist club. And because they've taken up everything and making you have to suffer for it, there's nothing left for the small man. It's even worse when you think about the fact that Jack Deo's more or less been running this nation like Chetty left Guyana in his will for so he's already sold off all the good stuff in Guyana to the highest bidder years ago. Come to think of it, that's probably why foreign companies feel entitled to treat us Guyanese like second-class citizens in our own nation. All of our politicians are either too money-hungry or selfish to care. Or in the case of Granger, just there and doing nothing. He and his cabinet were so aloof and out of touch with what was happening on the ground that they wouldn't even listen to common sense advice when they got into office. A lot of advice. They got a lot of advice and they ignored much of it. You all said I was unfair for, beating up on them, saying that, 5 years to do all that's too short. Yes, you are correct. For a brand new and inexperienced party, 5 years is too short to do anything different. But they had over 2 decades of preparation, as they've been in opposition for the whole time. This is 2 decades of hearing and experiencing the cries of the people regarding the PPP abusing the government's powers to enact oppression, media suppression, discrimination, corruption, crime, state-sanctioned violence, poor governance, personal vendettas, and authoritarianism. The list goes on. We all remember it. They, the PNC, complained, and then they campaigned on a platform of understanding the issues affecting Guyana because they've been listening to it for over 2 decades. But when enough of the nation finally gave them a chance, they operated as if they had no tangible plan for national development. That is what I call a failure to launch. As an opposition, you ought to act as a government in waiting. That's why every government minister has a shadow opposition minister. They're supposed to hit the ground running with a plan since day one when in office. A plan they should have been laying out in Parliament for the rest of the nation to see whilst they were in opposition. So people can then start to say, hey, the opposition's viewpoint of how this country should be run sounds a lot better than the government's. Now, I will say this. All of this stupidness coming from the opposition was not enough to send me into the arms of the PPP because I'm not a spineless soup drinker. But it's fair to say that I have no confidence in the PNC's ability to effectively lead this nation. Nor do I have much confidence in this current government either. But there are 2 things I will give the coalition. It would seem that they stopped the Phantom Squad, which is actually really huge because, come on, that was ridiculous that it even existed in the first place. And they did decentralize many government services, such as the Passport Office and the GRA, and they did try in different efforts here and there. But being the lesser of 2 evils is not an accomplishment. It's a sign of just how crappy we've allowed things to get in our nation. All of this is to say, in the upcoming elections, be smart and vote for an independent candidate that you know cares about your local government's constituency. Preferably one running under the Movement for Unity and Democracy. But no matter what, always remember that voting for the PPP or the PNC is the definition of doing the same thing repeatedly and expecting a different result. And if you ask me, that's pretty stupid. Robbery season might be over, but the streets are still mean. That's why you need to get security for your home or business with Sheriff Security. Sheriff Security has well-trained guards, armed and unarmed patrol, marine patrol, canine services. They speed even our drones. Why? Because your security is their highest priority. You've seen the rest. Now hire the best. Hire Sheriff Security Service today. Now for our uncut news, Views Poll Question of the Day. Every day we pose a question about current events in Ghana, the region, the diaspora, and how you feel it placed was. On Thursday, I asked, what does Independence Day mean to you? But before we get to that, I'm proud to announce our latest addition to the Noble Army, Richard Singh, who is supporting us at the reporter level, the highest level of monthly support we've received so far. So thank you, Richard Singh. And also, a special thank you to David Griffith, Dion Nascimento, Project Zero, and Dimitri V. I appreciate you all. And if you're watching at home and you'd like to support our movement, just hit the link in the video description. Terrence Raheen says Independence Day is their birthday. So happy birthday, Terrence. I hope you enjoyed it. I took the day off, so I know I definitely enjoyed it. Barefoot Wanderer says, why does everything in Ghana have to have a side? I know, it's annoying. Until the divide verbiage is stopped, positivity to change for the better cannot happen. And it starts with everyone. Stop the nonsensical finger pointing. That mannerism is low vibration behavior. Just deal with the matter at hand, correct the wrongs, and move on to the next. Happy Independence Day, Guyana. May positive, uplifting change fall upon all my Guyanese brothers and sisters in the years ahead. Cheers from the beaches of DR, Punta Cana. When we discover the meaning of unity, then we will truly have a positive future for Guyana. Dopamine says Independence Day for me at this point means seeing a high-profile criminal has escaped with high-profile help. With LG on its way, political and ethnic tension. I'm expecting another freedom fighter situation as usual. Sick people in a sick society. And finally, Bertie Alexander Sirius says we've made practically no progress in 57 years of independence in achieving the motto, one people, one nation, one destiny. Hence, independence means very little to me. Indeed, and apparently this government now wants to just call it one Guyana. I thought we were one people, one nation, one destiny. I don't care about buzzwords. I want unity and true national development. Now for tonight's question. I want to know, do you believe that the major parties are doing enough to educate voters on their rights? Why or why not? I want you to think about that question. Tell us in the comments below. If your response is good enough, we just might feature it in our next episode. Anyway, that's all the time we have for tonight, and check us out tomorrow for another. Until then, I'm Rico Beaufort saying good night, folks.